bioidentical hormones? That's the biggest question that I have is people ask me, what is a bioidentical hormone? Bioidentical hormone just means bioequivalent or human identical hormones. It's what we can mimic in the lab that looks exactly like the human hormone. Okay, so you've heard Suzanne Summers perhaps. She has tons of books now. I was Googling this morning, she has so many books. But bioidentical hormones are safe for your body when you use them to the right dosage. It is not safe to take bioidentical hormones on your own without having some testing first. The testing that's available for bioidentical hormones is saliva and urine. In our practice, we use a company called Genova Labs because the insurances cover it. This is one of the biggest barriers to wellness for people is that they go to a wellness practice that doesn't use insurances, and you have to pay $400 or $500 for a test. But in our practice, we try to utilize the different companies that will be user-friendly. Getting a urine and saliva test will tell us not only what your hormone balance is, but it will also tell us what you're high in. The biggest culprit of disease in women is estrogen dominance, causing an impact on those cells that are very sensitive to women, like the breast tissue. And for men, it's the prostate gland. So we see a lot of problems with estrogen dominance, and it's not a matter of not having enough estrogen or enough testosterone after the change of life for men and women, it's the imbalance. So how do we get so imbalanced if we're not even taking any hormones? You know, what about the people that don't take hormones? How do they end up with excess hormones? Have you ever read the bottle on a bottle of lotion, like moisturizer? Then I'll use just a couple of examples, not to pick on any companies, but I used to use Lubriderm, I used to use Curel, Eucerin cream. I mean, think about it, I have dry skin, you know, I just was constantly layering this stuff on. Well, if you read the ingredients, they have something in them called parabens. Parabens are what they use to make a long shelf life in these lotions so that they don't go bad. But when you put them on your body every day, they act just like a hormone. And so we're applying this stuff every day, causing an increase in hormones, and then we increase the body's ability to detoxify. We have this huge burden. And so in our practice, we teach you a list of things, and on the way out today, you have a resource. We're giving you a resource when you leave that you can take with you, because there is a list of things, toxic chemicals to avoid poisoning or to making your body more toxic unnecessarily. And it is things like colognes. Those are phthalates. You know, I always make the joke about the good smelling man, because, you know, the nicer they smell, the lower their testosterone is probably, because it interferes with their ability to make testosterone. I'm not kidding. I mean, the nicest smelling men have the lowest testosterone levels. So guys, give up those colognes, because really they're toxic chemicals. Now, essential oils are completely different. And we have a lot of people that are now learning about essential oils to use to make your own perfumes and things that don't toxify your body. Now that's one way to test the hormones. Now the other important part of the test is urine sample. The urine sample tells us how your liver excretes the hormones when it's finished using them. So even if you're not taking hormones, you're still excreting hormones every day through your liver, through 2 phases of detox. Phase 1 is regulated by how your nutrition is, increasing lots of plants, making sure you have B vitamins and you have magnesium, and your body is getting a lot of plants from cruciferous vegetables. There is a supplement that I like to use, and it's called DIM and indole 3-carbinol, and I will show you, because I'm going to raffle this off. This one makes it simple because you put it both in one supplement. It's DIM and indole 3-carbinol. All this is cruciferous vegetable extract that will help to increase phase 1 detox of the liver of your estrogens. Okay? So if you ever have a test done that shows you're estrogen dominant, and I can tell you, if you have extra weight on your body, breast tenderness, swelling of your fingers or legs, you know you're in estrogen dominance. There's just no doubt. And so it's a safe alternative for you to, while you're waiting to get into a provider or get a test, to try some DIM or indole 3-carbinol. It is not going to harm you. It will not cause cancer. It's just plant-based nutrition, but it will help that liver. The second phase of liver detox for estrogen is methylation. I never have an easy way to explain methylation other than the fact that something in our bodies, the pathways there's something interfering in our pathways, because everybody that I test has a poor methylation out of the liver. And what that means is that unless you can fully methylate and get that stuff out of the liver, into the colon and out, all it does is recirculate. So now you've got the parabens being applied, the phthalates from the colognes and all the fragrances, and now we have these livers that are sluggish because of burden of toxicity and the poor methylation. This is my life. This is what I see every day. Now, I want to shift right into gut health, because nobody understands the importance of gut health as it relates to hormone balance. How many of you know what probiotics are? Okay, I look like Jamie Lee Curtis now because I took a picture of her into my hairdresser and said, I want to look just like her, so I'm working on that. But she has made it a common, I would say a family term of probiotics because of that Activia commercial that she does, right? About 7 days and improving the gut health. Well, that Activia is a great concept, except Activia has 6 teaspoons of sugar in every serving. Now, I don't know if you know that, but sugar feeds cancer, okay? That's cancer's food, is sugar. Sugar causes an inflammatory response in our gut and other areas. So we don't want to be getting our probiotics from Activia, and we really don't even want to be getting it from a dairy source anyway. We want to be putting it in the form of kefir, which is a fermented drink that you can learn how to make very simply with coconut water and some culture starter. You can make cultured vegetables by using the culture starter with the vegetables that have ground up raw, and you just let it ferment, and you eat them. You can take probiotics in capsule or powder form, and you really want to do that because you want to be putting in good bacteria every day. The body only colonizes it for about 3 days, and you have to replenish. So it's not just for taking when you take antibiotics. We have a lot of people that will take probiotics, but only after they've been on a Z-Pack. And they only take it for a couple of weeks, and then they say, but they can't understand why they have a yeast infection, okay? So let's talk about what happens in the gut when you don't take enough probiotics. Well, I like the analogy of rototilling a garden out back, because you just can't wait. It's springtime and you want to plant those seeds, but then you get called away for a couple of weeks because someone offers you a great trip. So you've rototilled the garden, you leave, and you didn't plant anything before you left. Well, when you get back, what do you think's growing there? Everything you don't want. That's the same thing that happens to your gut. When you forget to plant your gut will grow bacteria that then secretes some bad stuff, okay? And the stuff that it secretes, there's a big long name for it. You don't need to write it down, but I will tell you what it is. It's called beta-glucuronidase. And anybody who's ever had this urine test, the stool analysis in my office, will see that beta-glucuronidase is really, really high. And then we see that in their saliva test that their estrogens are really, really high, because beta-glucuronidase sits in there and waits for the liver. So here you have a healthy liver that actually can methylate and get it down into the small intestine, but when it comes in contact with that bad enzyme that's secreted by that bad bacteria, it shoves it right back up into the system and recirculates again. So we have this repetitive cycle of over-estrogenizing ourselves from the cosmetics, the lotions, the sluggish liver, but mostly the gut. And so the gut bacteria is of utmost importance to keep replenished. And we do that with using probiotics. Good bacteria for the colon on purpose. You can find them everywhere now, even at the grocery store. Gotta look at my notes. Okay, another thing that goes on in the gut is inflammation from food. And I'm going to get further into that, but I want to mention one thing. If you've ever had a level of ferritin, you know ferritin is baby iron. Okay, it's a very important test to get tested, because if you have a low ferritin level and you're not bleeding, if you're not a menstruating woman and you don't have a reason to have any blood loss, and you have a ferritin level that's low, under 90, that is going to cause your thyroid to become so sluggish. But why is the ferritin so low? Could it be that you're not absorbing the food that you're eating? Could it be that you're eating food that you have an allergy to and the inflammation is blocking the absorption of that ferritin, okay? So when I see a low ferritin level, I jump on getting a stool analysis for someone because I want to see what's going on in the gut, and I do food allergy testing and celiac sensitivity. So you're seeing the pieces of the puzzle going together, and you can probably imagine what you might need for yourself. So if you are taking notes, just kind of jot down about the areas that you might need these tools for your toolbox. So if the ferritin is low, the thyroid is low. The thyroid is low because we're iodine deficient. How many things in our diet contain iodine? I mean, what can we eat? Kelp, seaweed, right? But we're told to stay away from table salt. That's the only place they put the iodine in. But the table salt's processed, and we need to be adding sea salt to our diets because the sea salt can give you 80 vital minerals back in your diet that you might be sweating out or urinating out or stooling out. And so using sea salt is a great alternative to a mineral replacement as opposed to having to try to pop multiple different supplements. And your thyroid will love you for it because iodine replacement needs to happen in only those people who don't have an autoimmune disorder. So you want to be very clear, when you're using sea salt, there's no iodine in it, unless you buy one that says it's got it in it. When you take iodine, though, it will stimulate the thyroid, okay? And people can buy iodine over the counter everywhere, but don't do too much of it, because if you have an autoimmune disorder, thyroiditis, Hashimoto's, Graves', those kind of things, you can actually put yourself into a crisis. So don't be self-medicating these types of things without an advice of a healthcare provider. That's so important.